Well, I'm really fascinated with that story, and I'm fascinated as well with what that environment must have been like. Can you give us a bit of an insight to what it was like going to college with these people, and obviously really ambitious people with big goals, and also maybe just tag on at the end how you feel that whole experience has influenced you and being around those people have influenced you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Duke's reputation kind of precedes itself all around the US. It was a lot of people that had been to elite private boarding schools. These people were paying $75,000 a year to go to Duke. So they were all making sure they were, whether it was in their athletics, people wanted to go into careers in medicine, law. I mean, I remember at the commencement, the first, there was sort of like a big mass and an introduction sort of thing one of the first weeks, and they had outlined what everybody had, well, not everybody, but some people had done before they'd actually got into Duke. And there was people that had worked on cancer teams and developed engines for race cars and all this sort of stuff, and we just done the leaving cert and just headed off. So we kind of felt quite sort of inadequate compared to all these people. And I suppose that was the great thing of being at somewhere with Duke. Everybody was striving to be the best. There was no oh, what are you doing that for, or why are you working hard? It was, look what they're doing, I want to be like that too. And it didn't really matter what area it was in, and everybody sort of brought each other on, whether it was, I mean, you were surrounded by Olympians, people that were like guys in the basketball team that you just knew were going to the NBA the next year, and all these people that had big fancy internships. I remember we were in a finance class, corporate finance, and I think it was in 2016, and he at the start of the class he did like the icebreakers, whatever, and he said, introduce yourself, say where you're from, and what internship you had this past summer. And obviously me and Lisa hadn't done any internships, and luckily it was 2016, and we went around and everybody was saying that I had an internship with Goldman Sachs and I had an internship with JP Morgan, and listing out all these big companies. And one of my friends went first, and she was Madison, and I had an internship at Goldman Sachs, and I'm Leona, and I didn't have an internship anywhere this summer. And then someone else picked up, yeah, but you went to the Olympics. So it was still like a very it was a really good environment, and everybody kind of supported each other and brought each other on, which was quite nice. And I suppose me and Lisa have never been really ones to want to stand out, and that was the nice thing to do. Being very, very good at whatever you did, it didn't make you exceptional or extraordinary in any way. It just made you kind of very similar to everybody else, which was nice.
That's really, 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 that's a great story. That's obviously somebody that you got on well with, that kind of piped up there and said, well, you did go to the Olympics. And it's always nice when somebody else says it when you don't have to say it. I want to go back to you, Lisa, for a second, and just, I suppose, if you're reflecting on your time, you did psychology and marketing, is that right?
Yep. Yeah.
If you to look, I suppose, through your time in Duke and say, if I had this piece of advice, or if somebody was going to Duke and if they knew this, what would it be?
I suppose, first off, I'd advise anyone that's going to the States to college, whether that's for academics or sports, just to do your research. I suppose no two colleges are the same, and I don't know, it surprises me so much how many people go without properly doing their research, and then they wonder why they want to come home at Christmas time. The first thing I'd advise anyone, and I'd advise strongly against it, is not, a lot of people don't even visit where they're going to go. Like as an athlete, and if you're going on a scholarship, or even if you're not going on a scholarship, you're entitled to a visit from the college. So I'd strongly encourage anyone to, if you're thinking about it, you can go on 5 visits, a maximum of 5 visits. So you've nothing to lose. Go visit. The college will pay for you to go visit, and you might as well see what sort of resources they have to offer. And that was kind of the nice thing. That was the thing that me and Leona did. We went by ourselves, we went without mom and dad, and that was kind of the idea behind that, was that we'd have our own, it was our own decision where we wanted to go, and we visited 5 colleges, and that was, and we could make our own decision. It was kind of an independent choice, and I think that's what mom and dad said to us, and kind of stressed the importance of, well, it's going to be where you're living for the next 4 years. It's the call you're going to make for the rest of your life. It really doesn't make a pin of a difference whether they like it and whether they approve of it. If you're going to be there and unhappy for 4 years, well, then you might as well not go. So
Yeah, no, that was the best thing I think at Halloween of our 6th year. I'm gonna say we visited Duke, and I suppose there and then I was kind of blown away by the facilities. I suppose that was the thing that was great for us. We could live on campus. You could walk to everything. All the facilities right there. Where that was the gym. Then you had kind of lecture halls, everything like that, dining halls, and then the golf course was, again, it was within like a 10-minute walk. But yeah, no, looking back on it, I suppose it was just, you probably didn't realize it at the time, but it was just a matter of soaking everything in. I suppose you had the unreal experience of going to the basketball games, and I suppose Cameron Indoor is kind of known all around the world in basketball circles, and because it's such a small stadium, the atmosphere was just electric every time. And I suppose the more games you went to, you probably took it a little bit more for granted. It was just kind of when you talk to other people, maybe when we were playing at golf tournaments or in pro-ams, and they asked you where you went to college, and then the first question they always ask is, well, have you been to a basketball game? How many basketball games did you go to?
I can see that both of you must get on really well because there's so much being soaked up there. You've got about. I asked for one piece of advice. You give me
I was gonna
about
say,
8.
she's taking all 9.
But I love it. I mean, it's really obvious that you embrace the environment. You took in, and like you said, you soaked up everything that the environment had to offer. But what I really like, and it probably comes back to why you've achieved so much, your focus on preparation, doing your research, knowing what you were going into, and having that kind of mindset that you were going to embrace whatever came in front of you. So that was really good. What about you, Leona?
Yeah, I suppose the big question I always get when people sort of ask, should I go to college and where should I go? It's always, well, what do you want? Why are you going? And for us, we wanted good academics and really good golf. We wanted to go somewhere that was warm. We didn't want somewhere that was colder than it was going to be here in Ireland. We didn't want to have snow in the winter, so North Carolina was perfect for that. And I suppose it was just a case of making the most of the opportunities that we had when we were there. Some of them were more easily accessible than others, and some of them you had to work a little bit harder for. Whether that be talking to different alumni, just make different professors. It was amazing the people we met as part of the university, people from sort of all walks of life, whether that be professors that had really interest in research or obviously Coach K was there, who's been one of the best coaches of all time. Our coach, Coach Brooks, what he's done over the years, other Olympians, different students from all around the world. It's just a case of making the most of those opportunities. Definitely sort of worth it in the end.
Probably said too. It's not that it wasn't easy. I suppose there was lots of challenges along the way. I suppose for me, the one thing that'll always stand out in my mind was kind of starting our freshman year, first semester. We all had to take a writing class, and the way the college system, you kind of have to. Everybody signs up for colleges at the one time across the board every year, and you have to be kind of ready. You kind of have your classes selected in kind of like a shopping cart kind of format, and you have to be ready when, say, the clock goes 9 o'clock to press your classes.
They're like concert tickets.
Yeah, like concert tickets, pretty
Yeah.
much. And there's obviously some classes that are highly sought after and some that aren't. But our first year, we all had to take a writing class. There was this one class called Decoding Disney. They all had a theme. There was all different themes. So obviously, Decoding Disney, only 15 people maybe allowed into the class. This was the one that everyone was sought after. And when it came to 9 o'clock, Leona hogged all the Wi-Fi signals. So Leona got Decoding Disney freshman semester.
Ninja reflexes.
Lisa got a class called Land of the Free. I didn't really know what it was, and got there anyway, whatever date in August, sat down in the class, and when we got back to the room in the evening, we were kind of talking about it. Leon was like, yeah, it was great. I was like, what did your professor give you for homework? She was like, oh, I'm watching Up. That's my homework. I'm watching Up. And she was like, what did you get? And I was like, oh, well, the professor handed me the US Constitution and told me I probably should learn that. So, needless to say, for the rest of the semester, I spent most of the time in the evenings Googling what everybody said during the class so that I could maybe go back the next day and make some sort of contribution. But yeah, well, Leona watched Up and ended up writing a paper on
Mary Poppins.
And I had an end-of-term paper on recidivism and social or solitary confinement in the US prison system. So there was definitely a varying degree in college, but yeah, you learn something new every day, or you learn something new every semester, as it was.